welcome to another in the series of mini spiritual seminars on behalf of Spiritualism New Zealand. My name is Kim Chamberlain and I am very pleased to announce our seminar speaker for today, which is Sue Boyle, who's going to talk on the absolutely fascinating topic of ghostbusting. Welcome, Sue. It's great to have you here, and please tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, Kim, and hi, everybody who may watch this. It's good to be here. I actually fell into the role of doing house cleansing, land blessings and clearings and entity removals by accident. I do mediumship and work on platforms around the country on the various spiritual churches and love to run workshops. So it wasn't until someone came into our church one night needing help for clearing their house. Nobody put their hand up. So I looked at my friend who was a healer and said, should we go down and do it? And off we went. And that's how it kind of kicked off from there. We never advertised our services, but we had a lady in town who had a crystal shop, and she kept dobbing us into people that would come in wanting help with whatever was going down in their houses. So it's been a very interesting learning journey. Yeah.
I can imagine. So is that what ghostbusting is? It's clearing houses and land?
Yes, and people. It also, there's lots of variants of energy that hangs around Earthside. There's the energy that resonates in a home that's had violence, arguments, and even more forms of violence, and that taints the spiritual energy in the home and it sticks around. Then there's the energy of homes in Western society aren't blessed before we move in. So if they're really old, they'll have layers of energy that feels oppressive and stale through the many people that have lived there. There's also people that bring energies into their home, especially if those people are doing things they shouldn't be. And people that visit their house will leave behind energies or attachments. And there's attachments to people, that's spirits who haven't transited to the light. And of the cases we've had, some of those have been just young teenagers who may have died early and are still hanging around their friends. And we send them on to the light. So there's lots of sort of permutations. Land energies can be disrupted by earthworks, ley lines, and also we have the cultural thing in New Zealand where some of the land has a guardian on it from the tangata whenua. Even though the tribe has moved on, they often leave a guardian on the land.
Oh, wow.
So we've had a disruptive one there.
Wow. And so people call for your help because what? Because they've got some disturbance in the energy in the house?
Yes, people who have no spiritual knowledge that we have are forced to turn to the alternative because their house feels bad, the atmosphere doesn't feel right. If they're a couple, they often start arguing, which isn't a norm, and the house just feels off, or they're getting sounds, things happening, phenomena like children are quite sensitive and will see shadows. They'll have people sitting on their beds and leaving a dent, but there's no one there. The children will be playing with spiritual friends or will be quite distressed at night because there's someone in their room. So, yes, there's sort of lots of things like that can go on. Bangings, pictures falling, TVs coming on their own and going off. Yeah. The spirit often, I feel, when it gets to that stage is kind of in an indirect way of asking for help, and it's time for them to be gone.
Oh, that sounds right. Yes. So what do you do to prepare, and what do you actually do when you go into someone's property?
Before we go in, we talk to the person involved. We try and have all the occupants of the house there, because we learnt the hard way that one person who wasn't at one particular healing was the person carrying the entity. So we had to go back and clear them. So we asked if there's if anyone's, on recreational drugs. Are there any people there who are unwell mentally at this particular time? Or is there drinkers? It's those type of drugs that find healing hard because they're either too open to energies, or they're not able to receive healing energies in that state. And with mental health, people can get into a delusional state, and I don't feel it's safe to go and do stuff like that with that mindset. So we ask those questions first, and then we go down. I take a healing wand with me, and we sit outside the house and we get a feel for it, and we say a prayer to ourselves, and then go in and meet the person and hear their story. And the reason we can do distance ghost busting, but it's about education. And at the end, my guide will come through and will channel a message for the occupants. So we go in, and I've got my little aerials that are listening. It's funny, you kind of listen and get a feel for the house and the silence. What sort of silence is it there? Does it feel occupied or not? And you never assume anything, because some spirits give you no sign they're there at all and then turn into something really stubborn.
Wow.
So we say a prayer for the occupants and explain that nothing may occur for a while, but there'll be a lot going on behind the scenes. And what my guides do, and I go with a lady who is a clairvoyant and a healer. A healer's a really good person to go with, because they can offer healing to the occupants afterwards, which they invariably take. And so we sit there, and you get a feel for the house, and gradually my guides, I've got a kind of ghost busting team, raise the healing energy of love. And you're really just giving love to the environment in that house. If it's the house the problem, that house is sealed off energetically by the guides so that nothing can escape, so to speak. And gradually energy will go up and up and up until finally the energy is forced to be manifested. It can't sustain itself in a high energy. It's kind of exposes it. If it's a attachment from a human, often they'll come up and stand in front of me. I can feel their energy. And then I might talk to them in my mind that it's your time to go. You're not meant to be here. They're waiting for you at home, time to move on, sort of thing. And I have seen the column of white light come down and take the energies up. If the person is stubborn, the guides will get relatives from the other side to draw near and call to them. And often I'll say, your mother or your grandmother's here. Those that are unwilling are full of fear, and afraid of the light, and full of fear that they've been done bad things, and they're afraid of going up to the light as well. So it's about healing away the fear and with love, and off they go. And after that, the guides, if they don't have to force them to go, they much rather the spirit goes voluntarily, so it has a kind of a spiritual epiphany. They seal off there's a one-way journey, and they will seal off that point of exit that spirit's taken, and it'll go to a healing place on spirit's side. And then the clever thing, that spirit will then retune the house to the energies of the occupants.
Oh, wow.
So that it feels good. And you can tell the difference. People who've got no sensitivity saying, oh, suddenly it just gets lighter and brighter. And so you know that the house is cleared. And sometimes they'll put a watcher on the house just to see that the occupants are okay and nothing else happens. And that's that. So that's a job done. And over the years, helpers and I, we've done over about 140 ghost bustings over the years, and they're all been in their own little way unique. and very interesting. And I never thought that I'd end up doing this because I nearly freaked out watching that dreadful film, The Exorcist.
I guess it's nothing like that when you do it.
No, we've only had one place where there was dark doings, but we felt that that had already been cleared, and what we did was to just finish off the residue of that violence that had happened in this particular flat. And also, there's a cleansing team, and I get the feeling after there's this kind of beautiful antiseptic energy that runs through the house that clears away any sort of negative energies from the house or the previous occupants. So, why do people hang around in these places? Often it's because they've owned the house and it's being rented now and they've died. And what's this person doing living in my house? They're very tied to material issues, and again, fearful. So they make people's lives a misery if they can. In a couple of places we've done with young mothers and children renting. A lot of rentals have issues. And that's often been the case, sort of these grumpy people objecting to someone living in the house that they're still attached to somewhere in their mind. And rooms, sometimes it's only one room that's really bad. And we did that recently, and it was absolutely graphic. We went and the room was full of stuff. We don't need to be in the room to do the clearing. We sat out in the lounge in comfort. And when we went in afterwards, it was just amazing. There was nothing there. It had all gone. And that kind of renewed my faith in my guides and what we were doing. You only get feedback if they need you to come back, really. Yeah.
So the feedback is that they don't contact you. So that's presumably good.
Yeah. But sometimes there's layers of energy and we need to go back to, we've uncovered one layer and lifted it, and we will go back and have to clear a bit more and a bit more. 3 times is the most we went back. Yes. But that was okay. That was fine. And we do go back. We don't leave anyone in the lurch. So
what has been your most memorable clearing then?
What would be? The picture theatre one was funny. We got a call from a cafe worker saying, oh, the theatre's gone off. The patrons are complaining how cold it is, how it doesn't feel very nice. And the automated projector has keeps shutting down. So their boss was a good Catholic and he didn't want us to go down, but they talked the boss into going down, and it's a very old building. They led us upstairs 2 or 3 flights, narrow wooden stairs, to this projector room, which was dark and dingy. And he said, oh, you've got an hour because the next movie session's on at 11. Right. So I thought, oh, great. But, it doesn't take that long sometimes. So we sat up there and he locked the door on us or something. And that was interesting because there were 3 perspectives there. When we said our prayer and everything, and you kind of go into a meditative state and you use your own psychic senses to go around and scan the building. I do a scan, and the first thing I got was some nasty energy in the foundation of the building. It must have been all the old, I don't know, just old life energy that sunk down into so that was the first thing to clear. The next thing up was the actual atmosphere in the theatre. We cleared the negative energies that had accumulated there from the patrons whinging about everything. And then the last but not least was the actual owner who had built this building and had run a hardware shop out of it. And he was still attached to that building. And he was very annoyed. This is the story we gather, that there was this stupid movie theatre in his building, and he was the one that was causing the phenomena of shutting the projector down and all sorts of things. So we sat there for a while and raised the energy, and then suddenly the guide I worked with was a gentleman called the Keeper of the Pipe of Peace. and he flung my arm out and he said to the ghost or whatever, the energy said, "You stalling." And then he went like that. And that guy was gone. They weren't going to muck around anymore, pleading with him and being nice. And sometimes the guides can be quite mean and talk to the energies. So he went off. So we did our job. We went downstairs and told them that it should be okay. And the clanger was the restaurant, the cafe guy, who was quite sensitive, said, "Yeah," he said, "the owner got the priest in to bless the new cafe alterations, and that's when all of this started to take off. So the priest must have woken up Mr. Nasty." So that was quite funny. We enjoyed that one. Yeah. And we've had, loud bangings. And the occupants, these bangings had followed these lovely married couple through to 3 houses. And so we've obviously figured out it was one of them that were bringing the bangings along. It wasn't just. And what that turned out, we heard them. They were the loudest bangs I've ever heard, and they didn't even move, the couple. And I said, "Is that what you mean?" He said, "Yeah, that's it." They just got so used to it.
Wow.
Now, that turned out to be a lady who was a lawyer but had to work in a firm, but her spiritual awareness was way beyond, and she had to act on the law, even though she knew what she was doing was wrong, that this wouldn't work for her, and she had this intuitions. And we felt that it was her energy had to have an outlet, and that's what was causing the banging. So almost like a poltergeist. Later on, she resigned from her job and created her own consultancy and did it her own way. So that's how you've got to have common sense. And there's no good wafting and ringing bells around your home. It will make it nice for you, but it will not clear energies that have been there for a while or are resolutely hanging around. So, yeah.
And do you get scared?
No, funnily enough, no. I've been tried to be bullied by some energies, but that doesn't work. That just makes me stubborn. No, in all honesty, I just, it beggars belief, but no, there isn't. We've never really come across evil. People say that these evil entities and stuff, it's human beings who have died through either tragedy, or they've got lost. There's still energies floating around from World War II and One that are being cleared by rescue groups that didn't get gathered up. So that's the reason. Fear and materialism is the bottom line. Evil is, we've come across very unpleasant ones, but not the evil dark. Not. And that,
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've written a book, haven't you, or a booklet?
Yes, Margaret and I, my cohort, who's now retired, we wrote a book on ghostbusting, and it's only a small little booklet with just some of our cases, we called them. And after our cases were done for the day, we'd always go and have a cup of coffee afterwards. We never charged exorbitant fees. All we did was ask for the owner or wherever we went to just a petrol koha. And if they were young mothers on the DPB or something, we wouldn't charge at all. I mean, there's been a few places where I live that, we've done, and there's no point, so we don't charge. But the booklet, explains how it's done, and I will get it put up on the Spiritualism New Zealand website under the resources section.
Okay, great.
It's a good read, and yeah.
Great, I'd be interested in that. So if somebody wanted to get hold of you, what would be the best way?
They can access through the directory on Spiritualism New Zealand.
Yeah.
So
I'll put that link below the video. Yes.
Okay. So never be afraid. It is distressing, especially when your children are being affected, but it's a human who's died and hasn't resolved their, and invariably they melt into the love that comes down to greet them, and off they go.
Oh, that's lovely.
Mm.
That's a lovely way to finish. Thank you, Sue.
A
I could
pleasure,
talk to you
Kim.
forever. This is so fascinating, but this is a mini seminar, so we have to stop here, but
Yes,
I'll give
that's all
people
right.
your contact details. So
Yeah.
thank you, Sue. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoy it.